And now our feature, Gender, Mutual Respect, Love, Marriage, and the Family.
What is being done to inform people about how they can contract HIV AIDS? And equally important, what is being done to inform them about the danger of misinformation? The wrong information has even led men seeking out very young girls and committing terrible crimes. Today, in this second part of an interview about the work of the Blessed Gerard Centre in South Africa, we return to the town of Mandeni, in an area which has one of the highest rates of HIV AIDS. In the first part of our interview last week with Benedictine missionary Father Gerard Lagleder, we heard about the opening of the first section of the centre in 1996 in response to the great need there. It is not yet 10 years since the centre was opened, but it has developed 12 projects. Among these is the hospice for the very sick and those in treatment. Then there is a home for some 40 children whose parents have died and whose relatives cannot continue to look after them. A third program is for malnourished infants and their mothers. We heard that the centre is named after the founder of the Knights of Malta, Blessed Gerard, but also that this is an African project and a high percentage of the running costs comes from South Africans themselves. But let's return to the centre in Mandeni, which, as Father Gerard explains, lies on the trucking route between Durban and Mozambique.
It is the big truck road from Durban to Mozambique, which passes Swaziland and goes into Mozambique from there. In actual fact, there was doctoral student of the University of Berkeley in California who came to Mandeni to find out why is Mandeni the AIDS capital of the world. And he did a round about 2-year study, and he found out that it is basically 2 reasons. Number one, inequality of the sexes, meaning that women have less jobs, and even if women have jobs, they earn less than men do. And secondly, it's poverty. So in other words, the men have the money in their pockets and the ladies don't have, and therefore, unfortunately, many of the women see no other source of income than following the oldest trade of mankind.
And also the women are looking after the children.
This is correct, yes.
So they are often the head of the household.
They are indeed. And basically what's happening is also that many men run away as soon as they find out their girlfriend is pregnant. So many of the children are actually born outside marriage, and then the mother dies after a while from AIDS and the children are left over. And then it's granny school, and now you have a granny, and granny has got 10, 15, maybe 20 grandchildren from her different children. Zulu society is actually a very caring society, which means if I wasn't a priest and if I were married and had children, in case of my death, my brother would have to take over my wife and my children. He doesn't even have to be asked, it's a matter of course. But unfortunately, all those brothers and sisters have died already from AIDS, so there is nobody to take the children, so it's granny school. But now granny dies from old age, and now you have what we call child-headed families. You have a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 14-year-old who has to look after their younger siblings and do everything what a mother does for their family, prepare the younger children for school, cook, and do all the household work. And now many of those young children don't have income again. And what do? They follow what I call the oldest trade of the world, and they sell their bodies to the men, and you have that second AIDS wave now. So it is a real devil's den in which we are in the situation of AIDS in Africa. And this is why we say then, when the mother dies from AIDS, we can't tell the children, go wherever you like, but we had to give them a home where there was nobody in the family or in the vicinity who would take over those children. This is how our children's home started.
Could we focus on the children's home for a while? How many are there in the home, and just a little bit more about it?
Basically, we have 41 children at the moment, and these are children who stay with us until they will either marry or get a profession and leave the house. It's basically like parents who wouldn't throw their children out unless they are independent and can walk their path of life on their own.
Are some of these children HIV positive?
Yes, they are. There is round about 5 or 6 of our children are HIV positive, and of course they are in AIDS treatment. But it's not only that. As I said already, we have one horrible thing which I hesitate to even mention in radio. That is, there is a kind of wrong information amongst the people that if a man is HIV positive, he could get rid of his HIV virus if he has sexual intercourse with a virgin. Unfortunately, the Zulu girls start being sexually active very early. So you don't find older ladies, or what should I say, it's round about the age of 12 where the Zulu begin being sexually active. So you don't find easily an adult who is still virgin. So they are now having sex with younger and younger children. In these 2 hands, which I'm showing you right now, I held a 9-month-old child who was raped by her own father, because he hoped to get rid of the HIV virus. And this is a thing which is an absolute horror which we are facing in our area. So unfortunately, amongst our children are also quite a number of children who have been sexually abused by their own family or by just other people.
So it's very important to inform people about what's true and what is not true regarding the AIDS pandemic.
That's a basic problem in Africa anyway, which we all know, and that is that people are not really reading newspapers, and not everybody has a radio or would listen to it, or if they listen to radio, they just listen to music, but they wouldn't listen to any messages where you would like to try to change their mind or give them information or education. That's a major problem in social communications anyway. So it is very difficult actually to go around and to tell them. What we are trying to do is also to address traditional healers, because that is normally the first instance where people go when they feel sick, and if they give them the right information, then you have a good chance of getting it over to the people. But that's also a kind of a way where you don't really know and where you can't control what's happening. But we try in every different and in every possible way to spread the news and to spread the information. Of course also in church, but unfortunately, as we know, not everybody goes to church and would listen to such messages.
What about talking to the children at school, even in the infant school when they're 9 or 10 years old, before puberty?
That's a major problem in Zululand, because the traditional Zulu is not very open to anybody talking to the children about sexuality. But for example, we asked at schools and they told us, no, you are not going to talk to our children about those dirty things. And so it's extremely difficult to get the news over via the schools. What we do in our churches, for example, is in our church youth groups and in our children's groups that we spread the news. So that's what we do, and this is where we can do it, but it's extremely difficult via the schools.
As people can be informed through the church about these problems, I asked Father Gerard if many people were coming to church.
Well, in South Africa, if I'm rightly informed, it's round about 7 to 8% of Catholics at all. So it's not a big population which we reach at church. Our church attendance is quite good, But unfortunately, as I said, it's not everybody who comes to church, and we sometimes don't also get a proper response from other churches. For example, when we built our hospice, I have called the ministers of the other denominations and said, let's sit together, let's make a plan how we can address the problem of AIDS in our area. And the ministers told me, you Catholics might have a problem, but we don't have a problem with AIDS. And now we're looking after their people, and we have hardly a Catholic in our hospice as a patient.
And what about in the Catholic schools? There are some Catholic schools, I imagine.
Yes.
You are able to speak to the children there, I hope.
This is correct, yes, and the schools themselves do it. It's part of their curriculum. They address the problem in biology, and they address it, of course, in religious education. That is a matter, of course, there, and thank God we have an inroad there, and this is really happening.
That was the second part of an interview about the Blessed Gerard Care Centre in Mandeni, KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. If you would like to learn more about their work, you can visit their website. The address is www.bbg.org.za. You can contact Father Gerard by writing to father@bbg.org.za.